I'm on a business trip. Don't talk nonsense, said the voice on the other end of the line. It was my husband, the father of our dear son. I was hoping to get him to come home because it was an emergency. When Max realized his father wouldn't be coming, he put on a sad face. But in the next moment, he pointed at the television with a surprised look and said, "Look, it's Dad. He's home." Turning to the television, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My name is Rose, 32 years old, living an ordinary life with my husband and son. David and I met through work. We were from different companies but often collaborated as business partners. After he asked me out, we dated for 2 years and got married when I was 27. Shortly after, I got pregnant, took maternity leave, and gave birth to our son Max. I returned to work last year when Max started daycare. Since Max was born, the time David and I spent as a couple has drastically decreased, and that's been a concern for me lately. We used to go on a lot of dates. It's a bit lonely, but I guess it's a happy problem to have. After all, our child is the most precious thing in our lives. We are more than blessed and happy. One day, while we were having dinner, David started a conversation. "Oh, that's right, Rose, I have a business trip this weekend." "A business trip on a 3-day weekend?" "Yeah, it's unfortunate, but the client can't meet any other day." "I see. Working on long weekends, you must have it hard." "Yeah, I wanted to relax at home, but it's work, so I can't help it." Upon hearing our conversation, Max, who had been listening intently, exclaimed, with a troubled expression and began to appeal to David. "Daddy, you have to work on your day off." "Sorry, Max, Daddy really has to go this time." No. You promised we'd go to the museum on our next day off." "We can visit the museum next time." "I'll definitely take you next time." "Dad, you said that last time too, and we didn't go to the amusement park." Challenged by his son, David gave a troubled laugh. As a mother, I tried to calm Max and reason with him. "Max, you see, your dad is working hard for you, okay?" "For me?" "Yes, that's right. He needs to work even on his days off, just this once, so we can go on fun trips with you. So we can go on a trip next time." "Of course. Next time, we'll definitely make him take us to the amusement park and the museum." "Yeah. Dad, you promise." Seeing Max happily stick out his tiny pinky to make a pinky promise brought a smile to my face. I didn't want to ruin the mood, but there were many other things about David's recent behavior that bothered me. First of all, the number of times he worked overtime has drastically increased. He used to finish work on time and come straight back home to spend time with us. Yet recently, he's only been coming home on time a few days a week. Today, he happened to come home early, so we were able to have dinner together as a family. With David being away most of the time, the majority of Max's care has fallen onto my shoulders. I love Max, and I don't mind taking care of him or doing household chores, but to be honest, there are times when I want to vent a bit. I don't want to doubt him, but is he really working overtime? Such unpleasant thoughts made my chest feel tight. To clear up my worries, I decided to talk to David after Max had fallen asleep. He was watching TV with a beer in hand. I casually started the conversation. "Hey, David, there's something I want to ask." At my call, David turned to me and said, "What's up?" It might be terrible to doubt my own husband, but nervously, I asked, "You've been working a lot of overtime lately. Is work really getting that busy?" "Well, yeah. I've been given more responsibilities, "I see. But you've also been going on more business trips, even on weekends and holidays. There are client schedules to consider, right?" "What's up, Rose? You usually don't ask about this kind of stuff." "Well, we've been spending less time as a family recently, so I was wondering if you could reduce your overtime. At that, my husband sighed, and his tone clearly showed his annoyance. Rose, didn't you just say it yourself that I'm working hard for Max's sake? Huh? I thought you understood. I'm doing my best for the family, so why are you being so selfish? Selfish? I didn't mean to be. Anyway, please don't interfere with my work. I'm not doing this because I want to. I understand. I'm sorry. After this conversation, our relationship as a couple took a turn for the worse. In front of Max, we pretended to be parents who got along well, but when we were alone, our conversations dwindled to a minimum. 2 weeks later, it was the first day of the 3-day weekend, and as planned, my husband left for his business trip. Since our conversation, he had been cold to me, but he acted differently that day. As he put on his shoes at the entrance, he looked apologetic and said, "I'm sorry, Rose. I know it's a holiday. It can't be helped. It's work." "Yeah, but it feels wrong to leave Max with you. When I get back, I'll help out. Don't worry about Max." "Thank you." "All right. Well, I'm heading out now." "Okay, have a safe trip." As my husband left the house with a wide smile, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. I forced myself to smile back, playing the role of a good wife. The next day, Max said, "I want to go somewhere," so we headed to a nearby shopping mall. We did some shopping and decided to have lunch. Just after leaving the restaurant and heading to the parking lot, a group of elementary school students on bikes crashed into me and Max at full speed. We both ended up falling to the ground. I twisted my ankle, but my son Max was having trouble getting up. "Max, are you okay?" I rushed over and called out to him. "Max." Max started crying out loud. "Mommy, it hurts." "Where does it hurt? Can you stand?" "My foot hurts. I can't stand up." "Oh no, it's swelling up terribly." The way he fell must have been bad. His ankle was visibly swollen, and from the looks of it, it was probably broken. I gently helped him sit up and rubbed his back. The elementary school kids who had bumped into us looked stunned and dazed at the scene. For the time being, I took their parents' numbers and sent them home. I carried my son to the car and rushed to the nearest general hospital. Even while we were waiting for our turn at the hospital, Max was continuously crying, probably due to the pain. "It's okay, Max, Mommy's here." Even though I said so, Max had never experienced a major illness or injury before. Even adults suffer badly from a twisted ankle, so it must be even worse for Max. With sobbing mixed into his continuous crying, all I could do was keep comforting him. An hour later, we were finally called in for a checkup. The X-ray results confirmed that Max's ankle was indeed broken. However, thanks to the cast, his expression seemed somewhat relieved. Now, what to do next? David is on a business trip, and my parents live far away, so I can't rely on them. I still have to go to work, but I can't leave my son home alone with a broken ankle. I contacted my workplace and arranged to work from home for a while. For now, I should call David. David, who answered the phone after a few rings, sounded annoyed, as if the call was an interruption, and bluntly asked, "What do you want?" Even though I was irritated by David's attitude, I explained the situation. We were hit by a bicycle in the parking lot at the shopping mall. Max broke his ankle. We got a cast, so he seems a bit relieved now. David responded. "And? Do you have anything else to say? Aren't you worried? It's just a broken bone, right? He'll be fine if he rests." "But you don't have to say it like that. I'm busy, don't call me over the smallest thing." Thinking about Max, I knew I was asking a lot, but I pleaded with David anyway. "I'm sorry, But is there any way you can cut your business trip short? What? What are you talking about? That's impossible. But with Max in this condition, I can't even go shopping. I can't cook either. I don't care. Take him with you. He has a fractured ankle. How do you expect me to take him? Come home early because our son got injured and is in the hospital. I'm on a business trip. Don't talk nonsense, he snapped and hung up on me. The tone of the disconnected call echoed in my ears, and a feeling of emptiness overwhelmed me more than anger or sadness. Is your business trip that important? We're having an emergency, and yet he talks to me like that. Now I can't even do my house chores. I decided to ask for help from my mother-in-law, who lives 30 minutes away by car. When I called my mother-in-law, she said, "I'll be right there." In the meantime, I waited with Max, watching TV. While we waited, I told Max that his dad couldn't come home. "Max, Daddy can't come home because he's busy at work." "I want to see Daddy," Max said. "Does Daddy really have to work? Remember what I told you before. Daddy is working hard for us." Suddenly, Max cut me off, pointed at the TV screen, and said, "Mom, Daddy's not at work." "What? What are you talking about? Look. He's right there." "What are you saying, Max?" "Look, Mom. It's Daddy." Max's face suddenly lit up with joy. Looking where Max was pointing, I saw it too. On the screen was undoubtedly David. But he wasn't alone. Next to him was a young woman, and they were being interviewed at a tourist spot on live television. This can't be happening. Why is David there? Didn't he leave for his business trip just yesterday? My supposedly away-for-business husband was on the screen, smiling with a woman, arm in arm, looking just like a couple. At that moment, an indescribable emotion began to bubble up within me. This is cheating, I thought. Once I was certain, I quickly hit the record button, capturing evidence of David's infidelity. Not wanting Max to see any more of this, I quickly changed the channel. Soon enough, my mother-in-law arrived. While Max took his nap, I decided to tell her about David's infidelity. "Mother-in-law, I have something to tell you." I stared into her eyes and quietly said, "Rose, what's wrong? You seem so serious. Can you take a look at this?" I played the recording from earlier. There was irrefutable proof of infidelity. When the interviewer asked David if he was on vacation, he responded gleefully, "Yeah, I finally got some time off." "That's great. Are you here with your wife today?" "No, she's still my girlfriend." I hope to marry her someday." "Very sweet. Enjoy your trip." "Thank you." I stopped the footage as soon as David's interview ended. Witnessing her son's infidelity, my mother-in-law covered her mouth with both hands, lost for words. While I was wondering where to start, she bowed her head deeply. "Rose, I'm so sorry. My stupid son. Mother-in-law, I'm thinking about divorce." "Yes, of course. I understand. I won't stop you. What that fool did is unforgivable. I'm sorry. Don't apologize, please. For Max's sake, you should seriously consider divorce." To confirm the truth about David's infidelity, I called his workplace. A staff member, who was working over the weekend, confirmed that David did not have any business trips scheduled. On the contrary, it was revealed that he had taken numerous paid leave days in the past few months. When I checked my calendar, the dates he had taken off were the same days he told me he was staying overnight at his office because of work. He was probably spending all those leaves going on all-day dates with his mistress. As more and more of David's misdeeds came to light, a simmering rage began to rise within me. To tell such an easily discoverable lie and to even go on a trip with his mistress, How much more does he need to make a fool out of me? Once my anger subsided, I decided it was time to take action. I quickly decided to come up with a plan to get back at David. Even my mother-in-law approved of me filing for divorce, so I'm not holding back. A few days later, before David got home, I invited my mother-in-law over to our place. I had her wait for him in the room next door, her living room. I couldn't let Max witness this mess, so I left him with his grandfather at my in-laws' place, unaware of anything. When David returned home and appeared before me with a big smile on his face, "I'm home. I got you guys some souvenirs." David held out a box of sweets. But there was no way I would be deceived by such a thing. I slapped away the box of sweets he had offered and coldly said, "Did you enjoy your trip with your mistress?" "Ha! It's impressive, isn't it? Buying souvenirs for your family from the place you went with your mistress. When did you get so bold?" David asked. "Hey, Rose, what are you talking about? A trip with my mistress. Don't play dumb." "I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about," was all he repeatedly said. Suddenly, my mother-in-law appeared from the room next door. Unable to bear it any longer, even before I gave her the cue to come out, she briskly approached David and slapped him across the face. To the stunned David, she spat out angrily, "What do you mean, business trip, you fool?" "What, Mom? What's going on?" "I just went on a business trip," David protested. "Ha! Can you still say that after seeing this?" My mother-in-law slowly grabbed the TV remote and played the clip from David and his lover's interview. Seeing this, David's face turned ashen. His mouth opened and closed with no words coming out. The souvenir David had brought back was right from the shop that appeared in the clip. There was no more room for excuses. Perhaps realizing that he couldn't lie any further, David bowed deeply in apology right on the spot. His eyes were filled with tears as he began to apologize to me. "I'm sorry, Rose. I thought it was just a fling. I'm not serious about her." "So what? I'm supposed to let this slide because it was just a fling?" "Oh, that's not," but David's attempt to justify himself was cut short. "Believe me, you are the one I love, Rose," he continued. Even after being confronted with all the evidence, he was still trying to deceive me with his shallow words like, "I love you." I was thoroughly disgusted by him. I slammed the divorce papers in front of him. "I love you. Quit messing with me. Do I still look like a fool to you? Our son got injured, and you still lied to go on a trip with your mistress. Unforgivable. You make me sick to my stomach. Rose, please just calm down. Shut up. I have no trust in you anymore. I can't continue living with a deadbeat like you. You are nothing but a waste of my time and energy. Sign those papers right now and get out of our lives, you jerk." Finally realizing the gravity of the situation, David burst into tears. He repeatedly apologized, but I ignored him. In the end, under pressure from his mother, David reluctantly signed the divorce papers. Subsequently, we divorced. Of course, I gained custody of our son Max. I claimed compensation from David and his mistress and returned to my parents' home. David was disowned by his parents, and from what I've heard, he was never allowed to set foot in their home again. Since David initiated the affair, when his mistress was asked to pay compensation, she exploded in anger and exposed the relationship to everyone at their workplace. As a result, David was demoted to a dead-end department, and the woman, who had been a temporary employee, was let go and dismissed from the company. David's salary dropped significantly, and now he seems to be just getting by. He probably won't have the luxury to entertain women in the future. As for me, I am living a peaceful life with Max at my parents' home. I haven't explained the reason for parting with Max's father to him yet, but I know that one day I will have to talk about it. Until then, I want to cherish my time with Max.